A heart once closed. I grew up in silence, raised by a father whose words were as scarce as visitors to our small riverside house. My mother left when I was too young to remember her face. Whenever I asked, my father would only say, "She's gone," and that was the end of it. So I stopped asking. Life was quiet. My father fixed cars in a modest garage and came home each evening, tired, speaking little, eating his dinner in silence, and going to bed early. I spent most of my time alone, reading, walking along the riverbank, watching the slow, steady current. I liked the stillness. I didn't talk much to anyone. I didn't trust them. At school, I was different. While the other boys played, laughed, and shared stories, I sat in the corner, did my work, and left when the bell rang. Some tried to befriend me, but I pushed them away. I didn't believe in friendship or love. My father had told me, "People leave, don't expect them to stay." I believed him. He was right. Girls were no different. They smiled, talked, asked questions, but I ignored them. I saw how they floated from one person to another, their words light and meaningless. I didn't want any part of it, so I focused on school, on work, on surviving without attachments. I was fine alone. Years passed. I graduated and started helping my father in the shop. Every day was the same: early mornings, long hours, quiet dinners, sleep, repeat. I didn't feel happy, but I wasn't sad either. I thought this was what life was: steady, empty, and safe. Then everything changed. It began on an ordinary morning. I walked into the garage, the air thick with the scent of oil and metal, and began my work. Engines hummed, tools clanked. This was the rhythm I knew. Then she walked in, a girl, looking slightly out of place, with a problem in her car. I barely glanced at her. I didn't care. I asked what was wrong, half listening to her answer. She thanked me. I didn't respond. I expected her to leave, but she didn't. Instead, she looked around and asked, "Do you like working here?" I didn't answer. She smiled. "You're very quiet." I said nothing. She laughed softly. It wasn't loud or annoying. It didn't bother me. I handed her the keys when the car was fixed. She thanked me again and left. I thought that was the end. But she came back the next day. This time, there was no car issue. She just stood at the door. "Can I watch?" she asked. "Watch what?" I frowned. "You work." I shook my head. Still, she didn't leave. "Okay, I'll wait outside," she said with a smile. I didn't understand her. Why was she here? Day after day, she returned. Sometimes with questions, sometimes just sitting quietly outside. My father noticed. "She's different," he said. I said nothing. I didn't want to talk about her, but I thought about her. One evening, I saw her by the river, sitting on a rock, looking at the water. "Do you like the river?" she asked as I passed. No one had ever asked me that. I nodded. She didn't say more, just sat there. I told myself she would leave eventually. They always did. But she didn't, and that scared me. She kept coming. Every morning to the shop, every evening to the river. She didn't demand anything. She didn't ask for more than I could give. She just stayed. One afternoon, she brought me coffee. "I don't drink coffee," I said. She smiled. "Then I'll bring tea next time." "Why?" I wondered. "Because you work hard," she shrugged. She began coming in the evenings, too. Sometimes by the river, sometimes near the shop. Always quiet, always kind. I expected her to grow bored, to vanish, but she didn't. One evening, I found her on the old bench by the river, the sky painted with the colors of sunset. "Why do you come here every day?" I asked. She looked at me and smiled. "Because I want to." "You don't even know me." "Maybe I do," she said, tilting her head. "No, you don't." She was silent for a while. Then she said softly, "Maybe you think people always leave, but I'm still here." Her words sat heavy in my chest. I didn't know why. The next day, she brought tea, like before. I stared at it for a long time. Then, for the first time, I took it. It was warm in my hands. She smiled but said nothing. She didn't need to. Something had shifted. She became part of my days. I noticed when she wasn't there. When she spoke, I listened. When she sat by the river, I joined her. One day, she came later than usual and placed a small box on the table. "For you," she said. "Why?" "Open it later," she replied, then left. That night, I sat on my bed, holding the box. Inside was a simple silver keychain, small, unremarkable, but it stayed in my hand longer than I expected. Eventually, I slipped it into my pocket. She returned the next day, as if nothing had happened. "Just wondering," she said. "Do you ever want to see other places?" I shook my head. "This is my home," she smiled. "Home isn't always a place." I didn't understand, but I didn't ask. Weeks passed. I stopped pushing her away. I let her in, slowly. Then, one day, my father said, "She cares about you." "She's just friendly," I said. "No," he replied. "It's more than that." That evening, I found her by the river. I sat next to her and, without thinking, took out the keychain. "You kept it," she said, seeing it in my hand. I nodded. "Yes." "Why do you stay?" I asked her quietly. She smiled. "Because I want to." And for the first time, I believed her. She was always there, at the shop, by the river. She didn't speak too much, didn't ask for things I couldn't give, but I started to feel something, small at first, then growing. I began to wait for her, to look for her. Then one rainy day, I thought she wouldn't come, but there she was, wet and smiling at the shop door. "You're still here," she said. "You're wet." "Yes, I know," she laughed. I gave her a towel. She sat nearby, listening to the rain. Then she asked, "Do you ever feel lonely?" I paused. I had never thought about it. "No," I finally said. "I don't need people." She looked at me gently. "But you let me stay." I opened my mouth to deny it, but stopped. She was right. And for the first time, silence didn't feel empty. It felt full. I began noticing small things, how she smiled when nervous, how she looked at the sky, how she always sat in the same spot by the river. These things lingered in my mind. One evening, she was quiet. Then she asked, "If I leave one day, will you miss me?" I stared at her, unable to speak. "It's okay," she said, softly. "I already know the answer." That night, I couldn't sleep. The next day, she didn't come. Or the next. The bench by the river was empty. Then I found it. A note. "I had to leave, but I was right. You will miss me." My hands trembled, my chest ached, and I knew she was right. I missed her laugh, her presence, her spot by the river, the way she looked at me as if I was more than I believed. That night, I held the keychain. It felt heavy now, not just in weight, but in meaning. I had lived with my heart closed. Now, it had opened without me realizing, and I didn't know how to close it again.